Well, good morning. Jamie Lee here again. So I apologize for not posting a video last week. I actually did record one, but it was just so long and I didn't want to bore you with that. So I decided to re-record it and I just could not get to it before this morning. But anyway, so my video last week, I have gotten so many requests over the last couple of weeks, especially, to talk about weight loss. As I mentioned before, I have lost, actually right now, it's 51 pounds since August, and everybody has been asking me how I did it. So I will share with you my secret. It's not a secret. And then maybe, it's something that you want to try for yourself. Of course, always check with your doctor before you start any weight loss or exercise program. You want to do everything 100%. But weight loss is something that is very close to my heart. I was overweight since birth. Me and my two siblings were all over 9 pounds when we were born, which is a little ridiculous, but whatever. However, in my family, it was out of the 3 kids, and we had one foster child that my mother took care of as well. I was the only one that had a weight problem. My mother's whole side of the family was suffered with obesity, and my father's whole side of the family didn't. So my sister and brother took after that side of the family, and I took after my mother. My mother struggled with her weight her entire life, and I believe that caused her to want to protect me from that, but it did not have that effect. So I always grew up feeling embarrassed that I was overweight. I always felt like I had done something wrong because I was treated differently from my brother and sister. And I was always meant to feel like it was my fault. And I grew up with that. And then as an adult, I realized, hey, this was not my fault. Okay. I was born over 9 pounds. I clearly was not the one going grocery shopping. I was not the one, buying, candy or, doing whatever, making the food. So the fact that I started out with a weight problem was not any fault of my own, okay? And I, even though I felt that way and was treated that way, like, if I was eating a piece of candy that was given to me, I was punished for it. And it was, it shapes your whole thought process around food and about yourself and your self-esteem and the guilt that comes with being overweight. So my whole entire life, I have dealt with this, okay? And at 30 years old, I've been on every diet known to man, right? Like, who hasn't? The grapefruit diet, the army diet, the no fat diet, whatever. And everything works. Weight Watchers, everything, every diet will work. The problem is we can't sustain it, okay? And I'll get into that later. But I've done like really drastic things. In 1988, when I was turning 30 years old, I met a neighbor of my girlfriend's who had weight loss surgery. She had the really drastic kind where they cut part of your intestines and sew them back together. But through her, I learned about another procedure that was being done in, initially, this is when it started, and it was gastric what we called it back then was gastric banding. They call it now the lap band. And I was like one of the first people to have that done in 1988. And I was turning 30 that year. So that was like my 30th birthday present to myself. And when I went in for this surgery, I weighed 253 pounds. And it is very drastic, especially back then. There was no like preparation like they do for you now, and you just go in and you have the surgery. And so the day before your surgery, you're eating a cheeseburger deluxe, but the day after your surgery, there's no way you can eat that, because what they do is they put a band around your stomach, so it closes off like a 1 ounce pouch of your stomach. They don't cut it, so it's so much less invasive. Although in 1988, it was, major surgery with, they cut. There was no laparoscopic, which I believe they do it now laparoscopically, but they cut, from here to here and from breastbone to belly button, and open you up completely. My band is supposedly adjustable. There's like a little tube with a bulb attached to it that they can inflate or deflate the thickness of the band. I've never had it adjusted. Clearly, I have never even gone back to the doctor for a follow-up. Don't do that. But it portions off it sections off a portion of your stomach, so you get fuller faster. But the other thing that has to happen is with the band is that the food that you eat must go through the opening. So you have a little opening like this, and this is your food, and it's got to go through this section of the band to get through to the other side to be processed by your intestines and all that other science stuff, whatever. So that means that what you eat must be chewed really well to get through there. Otherwise, it gets stuck, okay? Stuck in the band. And there's only one way to get it done, and that's either back up or push it down. So, that only has to happen to you a couple of times before you figure out this is just not worth it. So, at the very beginning, yeah, I lost weight. I lost 50 pounds because you really cannot eat the way you used to. But sure enough, like after that 50 pounds, you figure out ways around it. So while I couldn't go to the diner like my sister and I used to love to do and have a cheeseburger deluxe with the French fries and, whatever, you could do pasta with cream sauce, and ice cream goes down really, really well. And so does cereal with milk. And instead of trying to work with the band and eat less of what was good for me, I ate more of what would go down through the band. So I gained back some weight, right? I gained back like 26 pounds. And, again, tried many, 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 many diets. In 1999, I was 41 years old, and on my 41st birthday, I said to myself, I'm done with dieting. I'm just done with it. And I'm not giving myself permission to binge, but I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'm not putting this pressure on myself. And that was a lovely 6 weeks while it lasted. But then I was working for a large brokerage firm at the time, and my friend that I had lunch with every single day, we went out to lunch, and instead of going to this Italian restaurant that we love to frequent, we went to the DoubleTree Hotel right next to our office, and which was odd, but she ordered a grilled chicken, Caesar salad, hold the croutons. And I'm like, Karen, what is up with you? And so she told me, this was in November. And she said, I bought my wedding dress. She was getting married in May. She said, I bought my wedding dress and I bought it in a size 8, but I wear a size 10, so the dress doesn't fit me. So I need to go on a diet. I'm on a diet. And I think that you should go on it with me because we eat lunch together every day and I could use your moral support. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. And so she said, listen, I have the book at my desk. Just read it. It was a Friday. She said, just read it over the weekend. If you don't want to do it, okay, you don't have to do it. If you do want to do it, all I ask is that you stay on it for 2 weeks. By then, I'll, have the willpower to stay on it and, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, well, I'm nothing if I'm not a good friend. So I'm going to at least read the book. I'm like, what is it? And she says, it's Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution. And I'm like, Atkins? Like, it sounded very familiar, but I'm like, don't people die from that? Like, I had no idea what it was about. I really had no idea. She said, just read the book. Just read it. So she gave it to me and I went home that Friday. It was Friday afternoon and I was flabbergasted. That's the only word I could think of. Like, it just, everything made so much sense. And, having been through every diet on the planet up until then, I began to see why everything else failed for me. I really did begin to see it. And so I decided that I would do it, that I would give it a shot. Okay. So I was going to start on Monday. So I went out over the weekend and, did the shopping and everything to start on Monday, not realizing that Thursday coming up was Thanksgiving, where I don't eat the turkey because of the band. The stuff that I like to eat is the stuffing with the gravy and the mashed potatoes and the cheesecake and all that other stuff. And so, had I thought about it, I probably wouldn't have started that week, but whatever. So I weighed myself on Sunday. I did not weigh myself on Monday, but I did start the diet on Monday. And then I weighed myself Tuesday morning and I had lost 8 pounds. Okay, water weight, whatever, say whatever you want to. But I decided I was going to do it. So I told my sister about it and she was where I was going to for Thanksgiving. And so she decided to go on it with me. And so on Thanksgiving, we had turkey and we did have cream spinach. And then I ventured to make a sugar-free cheesecake, which we burnt, but we ate it anyway because, it was all we had. And I stayed on it for the 2 weeks and managed to lose 15 pounds in 2 weeks, which was astonishing to me. And what was even more astonishing to me was that I didn't crave anything. I wasn't looking for sugar or snacks. Like everything that I was eating satisfied me. So I said, I said to myself, okay, I am going to stay on this till Christmas. And if I can lose 26 pounds by Christmas, I will have whatever I want. I'll give myself a day off. I can have, the pastries, whatever. And, I will celebrate. Well, I did stay on it and I was down 26 pounds by Christmas. And I didn't go off the diet because I felt like, wow, this is really working. And I gave myself permission to have anything I wanted, the Italian pastries, anything I wanted. I just didn't want anything. Sorry, I have hair in my mouth. I just didn't want anything. And it was just really amazing to me. So long story short, I stayed on the low carb diet. I'll go through the phases. I stayed on the low carb diet through all of 2000. Karen got married in May of 2000. When I started the Atkins diet, I was a size 20, okay? Karen did not stay on the diet. And the week of her wedding, she had to go buy a dress off the rack in a size 10. So I wore a size 10 dress to Karen's wedding, and Karen wore a size 10 dress to her wedding. And I always, to this day, always credit Karen for my weight loss, because if it was not for her, I would not have lost weight. Now, I have been up and down since then, I will admit. So I stayed on the diet. So from November of 1999 through all of 2000, through most of 2001. In September of 2001, we had a little problem at the World Trade Center, place that I walk through every single day and worked across the street from. And, that shook the world. It shook the world. And I went off the diet. I'm like, you just never know when your last day on this earth is going to be. And so I'm like, you might as well have the cheesecake. So I did. I had the cheesecake, and I was off the diet for an entire year. And I gained about 20 pounds back. But what happens is, once you know what's right for you, it's really hard to go back and do something else. So I knew that low carb was what my body needed. And when I was off of it, even though I was trying to fight going back on low carb and, I'll watch what I eat, nothing worked. Nothing worked. And everything felt like, even if I was eating low calorie, but it was high carb, I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong and felt like cheating. And I just didn't feel right. In my body, it just didn't feel right. And so in December of 2001, my whole family, I had moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and all my family and my friends, we all decided we were going to go on low carb. We were going to start in January of 2002. Well, I couldn't even wait. I started December the 30th. So I lost the 20 pounds that I had gained, plus another 20. So I was crazy skinny, the skinniest I've ever been in my entire life. And it was great. I mean, it was fantastic. And I felt fantastic. I wore sizes that I never, ever dreamed possible. Okay. So, it can be done, and it really is like a gift, because it takes away your craving. So I'm going to explain to you how that works. Up until now, we've thought, the food pyramid goes, that your grains are on the bottom with 11 servings, and that's really not how it should be. So everything that you take in, there's a fat, carbohydrate, there's fat, there's protein, and there's carbohydrates, right? Your body burns carbohydrates for fuel, okay? Sugar, it burns sugar for fuel. Carbohydrate is a big long word for sugar, okay? When you deprive your body of the sugar, it has no recourse but to burn something else for fuel, and then it turns to fat. So how your body works is, if you drink alcohol, it will burn the alcohol first for sugar, for fuel. Then it will turn on your carbohydrates, and it will burn all your carbohydrates for fuel. Once all the carbohydrates are burned, your body has to keep running, so it turns to fat, and it burns your fat for fuel. So if you deprive your body of alcohol, alcohol, I'll just say this, alcohol will not stop your weight loss. So if you're drinking, it won't stop your weight loss. It will stall it because it has to burn that off first. Okay. So if you drastically reduce your carbohydrates, you give your body no recourse but to fuel it with your fat. Okay. So the basis of the Atkins diet is to cut your carbohydrate intake to 20 grams in the initial induction phase, which is 2 weeks, to 20 grams of carbohydrates or less, which is very, very drastic. Because if you even don't start the diet, but just look at the amount of carbohydrates you take in a day in just your coffee creamer, your toast for breakfast, your cereal, your sandwich at lunchtime, your a piece of pizza. When you look at the amount of carbohydrates that you intake on a daily basis, you will be amazed. So when you cut that out, it shocks your body. I'm not going to lie to you. And I have to say that when I initially started this diet, I did not go through the what they call it now the keto flu. I did not experience that the first time, okay? But what happens is when your body rids yourself of the sugar, it's like detoxing, and you will feel it. And like your third day in, you don't feel so good. You really feel like you have a flu. Now you can mitigate that a little bit by, in your first couple of days, like really upping your fat content. So I did not do that. Honestly, that's why I say it was a gift the first time that I lost weight, because I did not experience that. And what was amazing to me was that I was able to cut out the carbohydrates and not feel deprived. And the other reason why most diets don't work in the long term is because we when you cut out your sugar cravings, you cut out your cravings, right? So when you're on a regular diet, the only thing that's getting you through that diet is sheer willpower, because you continue to have your cravings. You want the cake, but you don't have it. And so you feel really great because I have great willpower. I want the cake. I didn't have it. And then you're rewarded when you get on the scale, hopefully. But what happens is, at the beginning, yeah, you lose weight. But now you're 3 weeks in, you're not having the cake. It's somebody's birthday. You're not having cake. You get on the scale, you lost 1/4 pound. Okay, so now it's the following weekend. You're not having your alcohol. You're not having the cake. You can't have, the ice cream or whatever. And then you get on the scale. You've been really good. You've had nothing but salads. You had some, pasta with grilled chicken. You get on the scale and you gained 1/4 pound. Meanwhile, you've been depriving yourself. You've been starving yourself the whole week. And, it just takes a couple of times to do that. My mother went through this. She lost 100 pounds. She went 16 weeks without a weight loss and stuck to it. Okay, stuck to Weight Watchers. And then, lost over 100 pounds and then gained it back. And then did it again, lost it again, and gained it back. Because you have the cravings. You continue to have the cravings. And nobody can sustain that. We don't have that much willpower. When you cut out the sugar, you cut out the cravings. And when you cut out the cravings, you don't need the willpower. And there's so many things on the market now that, you can make and you can do and you can work around to still have your desserts and your treats and whatever. And the ice creams are on the market are amazing right now that I did not have when I first started this way of eating. So you can do it. And I'm trying to make this really a shorter version because my last video was like an hour long. So I'm going to try to keep this to 30 minutes. So that's how it starts. So I urge you to get the book. Now they've changed the program to try to make it more palatable for people these days. And I think they have induction at 40 grams of carbohydrates. But I urge you to go get the Dr. Atkins. If you can find the original copy of Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution, that's the one I went by. I bought it like 5 times and gave the book away, and I don't think I can get it anymore. But try to find that. If not, go to Atkins' website. It does not cost you anything. You can sign up for their emails or whatever. You can go on the Atkins.com website, and they will walk you through exactly how to do it. I started at 20 grams of carbs a day. I continued, even now, I still do. I try to stay as close to 20 carbs a day as possible or lower. As you progress through your weight loss and you get closer to your goal weight, you can increase the carbs per day till you find that you're not gaining weight, right? So you can leverage it. So I have not been on it, all this time. The one thing I want to say is that you will, you'll go through periods where you'll go off it. I did gain weight. Okay. When I was 50, I was overweight again. And I went back on the diet and I couldn't lose the weight. I was doing what I had done before and I couldn't lose it. Okay, so I said, well, I'm over 50 now. Maybe that's why. It's not true. So I will say that it does get a little harder when you're older. However, it still works, okay? And I went on the Atkins website and I was looking for people that were my age, the Atkins support group, that were people my age, and I wanted to see if they were losing weight. And they were. So I knew it wasn't something age related. And once you know somebody else is doing it, you can do it too, okay? So now I'm over 60, and when I started this back in August, now I'm a decade older, and I started it again, and I have lost 50 pounds, okay? So do not let your age stop you, because your age is just a number. You might have to adjust your calories as well. When I did Atkins initially in my 40s, I did not even count calories. When I did it in my 50s, I did. I drastically cut calories and I cut the carbohydrates. And I gave myself the boost to ignite the weight loss, okay? But your age is not a factor. Your age is not a factor. And it should be a motivator, okay, to know that at any age you can have the body that you want to have, okay? I also started exercising. I bought a total gym, I bought a treadmill, and I love them. I'd be doing a lot more on them if I wasn't having this back issue, but hopefully I'm on the road to get that fixed. But anyway, I urge you, if you are struggling with your weight like I did, first is take ownership of it, because once you take responsibility for anything, you have control over it. If you're saying, okay, well, my weight loss, I can't do it because I'm on this medication, or I can't do it because, I've always been this way. No. Take ownership. Take ownership of your issue, okay? Then you are responsible for it. When you're responsible for something, you can change it. 2, whatever happened in the past, however you got to be this way, however you got to be the weight you are, it's in the past, okay? Whether it was your fault or your parents' fault or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's in the past. Let's get on and move forward from here. Know your numbers, get on the scale, know your numbers, make sure you're okay to do it, check with your doctor, okay? And then just give it a shot. I urge you, this is, it's fantastic. It's, your body does need carbohydrates. It doesn't need them in the form of white bread. It doesn't need them in the form of an ice cream sandwich. It doesn't need them in the form of pudding and sugar. So you can have carbohydrates in, you know, in your vegetables. Zucchini noodles. There's so many things you can do now to replace the foods that you love but are so bad for you that you really don't even feel deprived. So if you are struggling with your weight loss, I urge you to try this because it has worked for me. It's the only thing that's worked for me, and I can't say enough good things about it. So until then, so it's Dr. Atkins New Diet Revolution or Atkins.com. You know, and then a lot have been said about the keto program and intermittent fasting, which I also was doing. Not necessary, but you know, you do you, boo, and we'll see a lot less of you. Okay, so until next time, I love you guys. Bye. Go happy yourself.